Okay, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending on where you are. Today is May 26th, and we are here to do another of our monthly SIG CLI bug scrubs. The host today will be Eddie, and I forgot to Eddie to make a co-host, which I'm just fixing. So Eddie, take it away from here.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. And we'll start with the triage party board, which has a new config. Hooray. Did anyone have anything they wanted to specifically look at? We can jump in first. Anything on the customized list or anywhere? Okay, well, if anything comes up, feel free to pop it in. Okay, so we have a issue that Ricardo is looking at, 1036 in kubectl. Ricardo assigned themselves. Looks like we finally got a manifest to reproduce. He wrote up a very, very nice explanation. Looks like you were tagged, Mache. Should we punt this one for now and we can read it later?
I'll have a look and I'll comment there if I'm being called. I'll make sure to answer there.
Okay. 909. This is an old one. Support patch with selector. I don't even remember any of this. Time flies by so quickly. Not a namespace.
I really don't like the approach of I found this wanting to mass remove finalizer in order to clean out a namespace. That usually indicates a serious problem if you mass remove finalizers. Overall, the feature, it sounds reasonable. I would just follow the guidelines that we set. If it gets sufficient traction and sufficient upvotes, yes. If not, and nobody is interested in actually fixing it, we will just close it eventually.
All right, I will mark it accepted for now. Okay, that's all in the kubectl triage. Did you all, Jeff, do you want to walk through customize next?
I got up early and started working on it before the meeting. Now, do you filter out things that don't have triage accepted? Is that how this works?
Yes, that's the filter right now. Let me pull that up real quick.
I had a quick question, Eddie. On those two that we just looked at, there was a triage needs information, and there was still the label that said needs triage or something like that. I think, is that seems weird that there's both of them say needs triage when they actually have some kind of triage label. Am I off on that?
I think that needs information will not remove needs triage.
Okay. Got it.
Because that's like we're waiting for them to get back to us. And I think this one, so this got reopened and that's when it got needs triage applied. So I think this was an early issue before we even had that. So, hooray, quirks. Good catch though, Sean.
Related to that question, is there a sort of a semantic difference between an issue that has no triage labels and an issue that has needs triage?
Issue that has no triage labels. Yes, there is. As for now, we can change the filters to be whatever we want, but right now it's just filtering on these two rules in here. I'll just highlight these guys. So we just check if it has the needs triage label, if it's over 7 days or under 7 days, and then it shows up in that column there. So we can customize this however anyone wants. This is just what I threw together for now.
So
does that get applied on customize?
Sorry?
Does that label actually get applied on the customized repo, the needs triage one? I'm not seeing it on all the recent issues.
Not automatically, no.
Oh, okay. I know I saw it on some of them. That's why I used it at first.
Yeah, probably a better at the moment. I think most of them don't have that at all.
I think you're right. Well, we can tweak whatever you guys want. Whatever will be helpful, really.
Yeah, probably just leave that.
Yet.
Like either or, like either the needs triage is there or there's no triage at all would probably be the things we'd have to look at.
Okay, so if it's missing any triage label. So, okay, I can do like a pattern match on triage in there. Okay, I'll add that later.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
Did you want to go through any of these?
Yeah, let's go for it.
Okay. So this is 3830. Inconsistent config map multi-line string output between customized versions.
Oh, okay.
Is this like a diff thing?
What is the kind on this? Can you scroll down a little bit more?
Kind bug.
Using API version 3.1 and then like, is there a kind somewhere down below? Oh, config map, okay. So this is inline data in a config map and it sounds like it's not being parsed correctly. Okay, and they're concerned that there's different output between different versions of Kustomize.
Is it just triggering a diff change or is there actually changes?
The reporter seems to be just saying that it's a diff. But this is supporting our conversation, Jeff, about how it would be disruptive to people to bring in that change coming from v3.
Right. So this is the thing where I suspect this doesn't change the way Kubernetes will respond to these objects if you apply them to the API server. It's just a different formatting that's screwing up some sort of test I guess. So why don't you put triage accepted, and why don't you assign it to me? I could look at it a little bit more detail later. I may end up just closing it because we're not go back and patch the old 3.10 version of this. So, but I can take a look at it and just confirm that it's a formatting problem.
Cool. YAML anchor support.
There are a bunch of issues like this one, for what it's worth. That may or may not be duplicates. I think we need
right.
to.
So YAML anchoring is it fights. It's another technique for sort of a weird form of templating that you can do in YAML, straight up YAML, that can sometimes fight what you're trying to do with customize. So I think there's 5. Why don't you try? Let's put a needs help wanted on this, and somebody who can find a specific reproduction for it. That'd be great.
What more do we need than what's in here? Like there is an example, right?
Yes, I think that's an anchor.
Well, what are they trying to do with this? Like, why use an anchor in the labels?
I imagine this is usually for dry reasons. They're giving a really simplified example here, but I think one of the other issues had a bigger one.
Yeah, but I'm kind of trying to figure out what they want to have a bunch of labels expanded inside the labels field, and the labels are coming from somewhere else. Is that the goal here?
In this particular example, all they're doing is basically getting themselves an app variable. So the value of app is being used inside labels, inside metadata name, and also inside selector, right?
Yeah.
Sneaky. No way.
Right. I mean, another way to do this. There's usually another way to do these things when you try to use your anchors. You can use like a name prefix or a label directive and customize. So I'd want to dig into why. I want to ask if there's another way they could do this. I mean, in general, there's 2 different ways to replace things. You're going to, and you try to mix them, you're going to sometimes end up with weird results. So YAML anchors are there's always going to be these edge cases.
I guess part of the issue here is that before KYAML, we were just reading the YAML using standard YAML reading methods. So before Kustomize even processed this, it was already like the anchors were already resolved. So we didn't care if they used anchors or not. But now KYAML is trying to be super fancy about how it manipulates the data structure and preserves everything. So it doesn't actually get expanded the way you'd expect. And we end up having to know about these features of YAML that otherwise we could just be agnostic to. So like it worked before and it doesn't work now, I guess is part of what all these issues are pointing out. So we could say it's officially not supported, but it's something to think about.
Is this syntax, this just assigns Proximo to this variable here and this references it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a weird use case.
Katrina, you want to comment on this one?
Well, I'm not sure if we've decided what we want to say about it. Do we want this to work? Do we not want it to work? Like we could, I think we understand why it doesn't work. It's that it's the switch to KYAML, and therefore like we'd have to re-implement all of the YAML, all the YAML features ourselves if we wanted them to work. Like it's just not handled by KYAML right now. But do we want it to be or not? Like to Jeff's point, there is always another way to do this. Kustomize isn't designed to work this way specifically and has its own mechanisms for handling deduplication and string sharing, I guess, is what they're doing. But you could also see the argument that this is just YAML. Why are we not supporting standard YAML features when we parse our input? I can see both sides of it, so I'm not sure what to respond.
Yeah, so I'm on the side of not spending too much time on trying to get anchors to work in all cases. I mean, it's standard YAML is a little bit debatable. What standard YAML is. So
it's probably the spec.
Well, yeah, but the spec is also like got some inconsistencies in it, right? So what we could try is see if there's a family of these kinds of issues that involve anchors, and maybe there's somebody who can own it, who cares about anchors and wants to use them in concert with Kustomize. Because it's going to be complicated. There's going to be lots of tests you're going to have to write. I suspect that we would encourage them in this particular case. I'd say, what are you trying to accomplish, and can we accomplish it some other way without using anchors? That would be the comment that I'd want to add to this.
Okay. I could take care of that then, and also just kind of scrape the repo for the similar issues and respond like, yes, it doesn't work. What are you trying to accomplish? We could accept it hypothetically, but we need help.
I mean, the thing is, if you like, yeah, it will also get complicated with overlays, right? If you expect them to work across anchors to be recognized across overlays, there's going to be a problem there too. I mean, it's theoretically possible, but it would be tricky. And Kustomize has other mechanisms for achieving the same goals.
I don't think
that's
it would
cool.
be expected to. I don't think it would be expected to work across documents, but I guess I'm not sure.
Somebody might expect it to work. Like vars are expected to work as you go up the overlay stack.
One of you with admin access to this repo might be able to add a anchors label.
Oh, you can't add it? Okay.
No, Prow yelled at me.
I'll take care of it.
Okay. Do you want me to tag you on this, Katrina, or you got it?
Sure. I do have it open though.
Okay. Helm chart inflation generator doesn't appear to work properly with local charts. So this one has the needs triage label. So some of them do, some of them don't. Oh, this was added manually. Okay, I see. Do you want those added automatically? Because we can just add that to Prow, the plugin.
I'm not sure if that's an advantage over just not having a label at all. Like,
okay.
Is there a... I mean, if it makes selection easier.
We could do it with the regex either way. I think that they have the needs triage because other tooling can use it, but and doesn't really matter.
Okay, so they've got a local chart and they're claiming it doesn't work. Plugin also seems to be trying to reach out a legacy stable chart repo. Oh yeah, this is chart caching. So we have it may fall into the category of caching stuff that's recovered from like remote URLs. There's another person that's working on this with Git repositories. So every time you try to use a remote URL as a base, it downloads it, because Customized traditionally hasn't been in the caching business. So it might be, is that what this is about? Keep these traits vendor in a Git repo along with. So this is not so much a, probably not a bug as much as a feature request. Oh,
it looks like
that's
they're
a
just
bug.
using a relative path, and Customize is trying to download it as though it were remote. Is that not supposed to be supported?
That's I don't think that's supported. No, I don't think there's a, if that's what it is, I don't think there's any code for looking for a local repository. I think it's trying to get it from, trying to treat the URLs as getting charts from a remote chart repo.
So this error to me tells me that they don't have the stable repo even added to their Helm list. So it looks like it's just, that's the error passed in from Helm, right? Just piped in.
Maybe. Repo, that might also be I think that stable is a default value for a place to look for charts. And I think that error looks like a customized error, but I might be wrong. In any case, I think this is this is just a bug. We can take a look at it and see if we can add the ability to, if indeed it is just trying to find a local repository, and that seems like a local chart, that seems like a reasonable thing to want to do. So somebody could get that to work if that's all it is.
Okay, so is it a bug or a feature then, though? Like if it's not supposed to work right now? And...
Well, it's I'd say a feature. The bug would be that the error message is pretty crappy.
Mm-hmm.
Like if in fact what's happening, the error message isn't telling you really what's going on.
Maybe that could be a good first time issue for someone to extend the capabilities of that generator.
Yeah, I think the code is fairly straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah. As long, yeah, so if this is not caching, and I don't think it is from what we just been talking about, if it's just looking for a local chart repo, then that should be a relatively easier thing to add. But if it's going to caching would be more complicated.
Yeah, we could tell them then, I guess, like we would accept both a fix that makes the error message better, or the more ambitious thing to add.
Yeah.
Feature.
Start out with the error message. That would be best. Then you'd also determine exactly what the problem is.
What should I say? We need to determine if this is a caching issue or
an attempt. I think it's just an attempt to use a field that expects to go to a remote repo in an attempt to open a local file. So I think the error message is poor. I think what's happening here is they're trying to use code that intentionally goes out and tries to find a remote chart from a chart repository, and they wanted to just find it locally with a relative path.
Yeah, I could write a comment if you want.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Support for Golang IO file system interface.
Yeah, that's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, but that would be kind of cool, huh?
I mean, Customize started 3 years ago and wrote, it evolved a file system abstraction back when, I think several other people started file system abstractions about the same time to support writing unit tests, and pulling all that out and replacing it. There'd have to be a really good reason why you wanted to do that. It's throughout all the code. So I'd have to somebody would have to give a good concrete reason why this would be better and how flow would be improved. It's not obvious to me right now why that would be the case. Yeah, great.
Okay, 3587.
Yeah, this is not shocking. That's a bug. Comments may not be preserved when you're reading things in.
I know Phil did a big thing with KYAML in comments, right?
I think trailing comments aren't preserved. So comments,
only above?
Yeah, above a line are preserved, but not trailing.
We might want to ask for reproduction though, because they're using Customize 3.10, which didn't use KYAML by default, did it?
Correct. How old is this bug?
It explicitly says they're using 3.10.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yes. Please
Need some more information.
Right.
I would ask for both. Try the comment above and use newer. And if both will fail, then we have a bug. If not, then I think having a limitation where we only support the above is better than nothing.
Good catch on the version number, Katrina. I didn't realize this was 3.
Cool. Let's see. 3502. Question: instantiation of resources in CRD kind of resource.
Okay, they got a secret. They're trying to, so they've got a sealed secret, which I guess is a custom resource they want to use. Unable to recognize standard in. No matches for kind sealed secret.
I think one of the commenters is saying that it might be a kubectl. It's possible. I'd be curious to split the output, run customize build, and pipe that into a file, and then try to apply that separately, so that it's clear where the problem is. And most likely it might be a problem with actually apply.
Yeah, it looked like an I agree. It looked like an apply problem.
And secondly, I'm missing information about customize and kubectl versions. I would expect apply to work with any kind of resource, So yeah.
Okay, so someone just needs to give this a shot at reproducing. Anyone want to take that on? Install a CRD to a cluster and see if you can reproduce the error?
Well, I mean, in this case, they should just do the build, customized build, and see if that's a problem. I don't think the error was from the build step.
I mean, I would ask the author to try to
Right.
verify it and provide additional information. And versions of customizing kubectl they're running this against, and the cluster. It seems weird that if kubectl apply would not work with CRDs, we would be getting a ton of bugs about it.
Silly question. As a non-admin, how do I get Prow to remove the needs triage label? I just tried a bunch of things and it's not answering me.
Usually trash accepted should work.
Yeah, it added that, but it didn't remove the needs triage.
That's because needs triage was added manually. So the Prowl plugin's not added for this.
Right. So there's if it's added manually, then are you saying there's no way for me to remove it?
Did you try removing it with the Prowl remove label?
Is there a remove label? I was trying to like remove triage, remove needs triage, remove space needs triage.
I think there's a remove label.
I didn't see it. I was just looking at that. There's a bunch
Example
of like
is-
specific types of labels that it handles, but
No,
couldn't find.
when you were at the remove, the label was the last one in the example. Go down, go down, go down, go down. One more. This one, the label is the last. So
Oh yeah, remove dash label.
Yeah.
All
Because
one word,
why?
eh? That's what I just tried. It still didn't work. Oh well.
In that case, just manually. If you have an access, if not, I think Jeff has the admin access to do it in a customized repo.
I can do it. Katrina at the moment is not on the customized admins team. And I think that may be what allows you to get the UX for changing labels.
Yeah, notice that GitHub, strictly speaking, has a triage role that only gives you that kind of restricted permissions, which is pretty nice, but I don't think the K8s repos support it.
I think that's a new thing for GitHub, just introduced recently.
Okay, we're actually almost through all your older issues here. Well, that are labeled needs triage. It's 3485, double quote disappear.
Double quote disappear. So what was that? If a variable surrounded by quotes, so bars variable surrounded by double quotes, after build, double quotes disappear. So my first reaction to this is we want to deprecate vars, and yeah.
Oh, I see. It's because the Redis port is treating. So can you pipe to toString? Is that a thing? It's parsing it as an integer.
Right, I believe this is a legit bug. The question is, given that we want to deprecate vars, we want to work on it. We're replacing vars with this replacement transformer, which is going to, basically that is it. We could improve VARs, but we're just going to take it out anyway. So
Was it already announced that we're deprecating the VARs?
This is a duplicate of this one.
I don't know if we made an announcement, but there's a long-standing issue where it was decided a while ago. Jeff, did we talk about it in a meeting? Do you remember? Or?
I'm pretty sure, but it's been talked about as a deprecated issue for like a couple of years now. So what the problem is it's work. So the attitude that Phil and I took was basically, look, it does what it says in the box right now, and we have been lazily deprecating in the sense we haven't been working on it. For API version 1.0 though, we do want to actively remove it because it fights other solutions we're trying to come up with. It's a very invasive feature, and it also kind of violates one of the things Kustomize attempts to do, which is to work with bases that have nothing special in them, no template variables, no things that need to be processed, right? So VARs currently require a dollar variable kind of notation. So it's a real outlier in the way Kustomize works and the sort of intent of Kustomize. So yeah, we kind of want to get rid of it. But in answer to your question, Mate, not recently, no. We haven't made a big announcement about deprecating VARs. Like what would you like to see happen there with respect to announcement?
I don't know. Basically, whenever someone is using a VAR, throw a warning that in some time we'll be deprecating use and the plugin you mentioned instead, and let it be like that, and be a little bit more vocal about the deprecation to users, and then just start the process, and in a couple of months actually do it. And
right. The other thing we've been doing is working on Kustomize as a fix command. And the purpose of the fix command is to read in a customization file, look for things that have changed, and write out a new customization file that does things in a new way. And that is something we want to provide with VARs to the extent that is possible. So yeah, so the message, so error message on anybody who's using VARs, yes, that we can do. Email announcement, yes, we can do. Anything else?
no, I think that's sufficient. You put it in release notes, and you will be throwing those warnings when people will be processing, and then in a couple releases, just drop the functionality, and that's it. I think that's the issue that is talking about enhance or replace VARs. Maybe just point to the deprecation. And
yeah, that issue was kicked off to really lay out why they're a problem and what we could do instead. And the feedback on the issue was pretty positive about getting rid of VARs.
yeah, I mean, just go with it, and then that seems probably the best possible outcome if it's known limitation and reasonable approach, and people are mostly happy with that approach, go with it.
Okay.
We can probably extend the deprecation period for as long as we wish to, or for as long as people will be complaining. And eventually, if needed, we can always provide a fallback flag for some time for everyone that will be super late to the game, and then eventually just get rid of it. I mean, as long as we'll be vocal about this change, I'm all in.
Oh, so back to that. Are you back on that initial one? Yeah. So I would say there that comment that if you'd like, I could comment on this too, but we could comment that we're not going to fix this. That it's just that bars are going to be deprecated.
Good.
Thank you.
All right. I will get all the flack for that one. Don't worry.
By the way, we now have 14 issues with help wanted labels on them. So I want to build out like about 30 or so and get some more, basically parallelize the work, get more people involved.
Yeah, we can definitely shop that around. And I think the mentoring is kicking back up with SIG ContribX. So if you have any that are actually like really good first time issues, we could work with them to get new contributors there.
The ones that are
There's
labeled
less
help
first time, less first time issues. Help wanted is kind of a not quite as low a bar, if I understand the distinction correctly. Like true first time issues, I'm not convinced we have a lot of those.
I agree with Katrina. The help wanted is for somebody who really wants to dig in and understand the code. So also to facilitate that process, I'm adding an architecture document that explains how Kustomize works, kind of a code walk to help people get up to speed on fixing things that are more complicated. But I think the ones that are labeled help wanted are relatively, I wouldn't say they're super easy, but they're also localized. They're not like, oh, let's replace the file system abstraction or anything really huge, or like, let's deprecate vars. I think they fall into the category of bounded work.
Cool.
Like that
Panic
guy,
and parsing emojis.
Yeah, that's definitely bounded work.
Oh, Unicode.
That's in the
Yeah.
customize config command, though. There's
yeah.
some discussion about whether we even keep that.
Well, it's in the customized repo. So if somebody wants to tackle it, that'd be great.
Okay. All right, so we have 10 minutes left. I'd like to talk through something that I've been putting together. I'll share it here. We don't all have to read it right now, but the TLDR is we keep getting all these issues opened about people accidentally deleting all of their cluster with miscommands and misunderstanding how deleting namespaces works and throwing all flags and all namespaces. So the most recent one was like, I think this was even like yesterday. Yeah, so this person opened this issue yesterday. And so there's no confirmation when you go to delete your namespaces and throw all on there, and it just blows everything away and deletes all your resources. And we've historically said that it's a breaking change, which it is. It'll break anyone's script who's using that or relying on that. So introducing a confirmation prompt or a new flag would require people to modify their existing scripts. We talked it over Slack yesterday with the other leads, and I think we all came to agreement that we should probably do something about this as the rate of people running into it is going up. So I'm going to send this out to KDev at some point. So folks have time today to give it a review, give it thoughts. I kind of laid out a plan. It's basically the first pass at a CAP, really, about a process to move towards confirmation, add some flags that make it easier. Other bits in here are, if you're using -n while operating on a global cluster scoped resource, it's a no-op and has no effect. So we consider that to be an implementation bug, and it should error and warn you. So there's a few changes in here that I want to suggest is Kubernetes is growing in popularity and new people are coming in and accidentally deleting all this stuff. So give it a read, please give feedback. And I'd like to send this out by end of day today or tomorrow. So any thoughts or questions on that early?
What would this mean for the version number of kubectl? If you added if you broke deletion, basically it forced people to add a new flag. Is that a major increment or a minor increment in the minor version, or would it require an increment in the major version?
So when we're talking with Eddie, because that's not the first approach, I've been looking at something similar in the past and it was shut down back then. My suggestion was that we go with a warning first for some amount of time, and only after sufficient exposure, which would be most like a year, 3 releases, we would do a hard switch.
Yeah, so that's the plan I laid out here in this alpha beta GA thing over the course of 3 releases for 1 year. We can start by introducing a ask for confirmation flag. And so I didn't realize that RM has this, but if you do RM-RFI, it will always override the force and always ask for confirmation. So there's already prior work out there of always enforcing some sort of confirmation flag. So I think that we could always add this in here. And this is the sort of temporary stopgap that people can start using and maybe alias to their bash RC or something. It really just provides a safety layer in the immediate term as opposed to waiting a year for this.
That sounds like a great idea.
And then, so part of the first release, I also said we should add a confirm force flag. People can just start using this. It would be a no-op, but you could start putting it in your scripts. And then it would also start warning that, hey, by version X, we are going to be doing this. We could roll out blog posts and release notes and always call this out and try to educate the community as much as we can. And then pretty much I said within 1 year, so 3 releases is when it would require either confirm to be passed. I'm not married on any of these flag names either. So, but yeah, that's the TLDR. And there's tons of issues. It's getting really bad. People are blowing their shit up.
Is the problem that they don't know what they're about to delete? I mean, is it the problem that, I guess what I'm trying to understand is, like, are we asking them to confirm it, but they still can't see what they're about to do? Is that the problem though?
Yeah, it's okay. So here's the one from the other day. So this user was doing a delete -n for a namespace. Wait, where's the actual command? Delete namespace, passing the -n flag to select the namespace, and then passing all. And so -n here is a no-op because it's a cluster scope resource. And then all deletes all of the namespaces. So, and the thing is, it is user error, but it shouldn't be this easy for people to blow everything away without a warning.
So what you're thinking in this case, then, it's going to say, you're about to delete all your namespaces. Are you sure you want to continue? Or what would the confirmation say?
Yeah, so I liked looking at the RM one. So if I go into temp real quick, anything in foo, so we'll touch foo, right? So if I RM-RFI foo, and it starts saying, would you like to examine the files in foo? Remove this file, right? So we don't necessarily have to show them everything individually, but hey, these are the files that are going to be removed. Are you sure? And this would only be for using a -all flag. That's my thought. Unless you use the force confirmation. Yes.
The fact that they passed a -n and it's no-opping there, are we considering that a bug that we can fix immediately to remove the giant foot gun that this person encountered?
Yes, so that is what I put in here. I did say, so since namespaces are a cluster resource, using the namespace flag when deleting them should error. This flag has no effect on cluster resources and confuses users. We believe this to be an implementation bug that should be fixed now. And then I had an open question, should this apply to all cluster scoped resources or just namespaces?
And I did just that for all cluster resources, and it got shut down a couple of years back with a backwards compatibility issue. That's why we're trying to rephrase it differently. Although I was actually thinking about throwing an error at a user that he's passing both the all and a namespace against a non-namespace resource.
I think that I spent 5 minutes gathering examples of this in the wild. And many years ago, there weren't as many people using Kubernetes as there are now. So I think that we can at least make a case for it in terms of data. Be like, hey, yes, I even called this out somewhere. I said, these are breaking changes that shouldn't be taken lightly. Script stocks and applications will all need to be modified. Putting our empathy hats on, though, we believe that the benefits and protection to users are worth the hassle. So that's the theme throughout the whole doc. It's just like, hey, it's our responsibility to this is happening. We should mitigate it from happening.
And so there'll be no interaction with, say, finalizers. So finalizers are used quite often to ensure that something doesn't get deleted accidentally, or actually even right now there's I think maybe Manche knows about how they're trying to create an annotation for do not remove accidentally or something. And so I won't deal with any of that, right? It'll just, the finalizers will keep working the way that they work.
Yeah, we don't want to interfere with any of the server-side changes. This is more about, so most frequently when you're using web UI, any kind of, and you want to remove a resource, they will explicitly ask you to type yes or the resource name you're trying to remove. That's the case for if you want to delete a repo in Docker or Quay, they will ask you to explicitly type the name of the repo you're trying to remove. I think the same applies to GitHub as well. But with kubectl, the name is you need to explicitly say the name of a resource when you're removing it. The problem is that the user mistakenly passed all and then a namespace name in that delete command. So I was originally thinking that we would go the path of, if you try to pass all and the -n against a namespace resource, cluster scope resource, sorry, we would be putting a warning of, you're combining something that we know is a foot gun. Are you sure?
I mean, the namespace parameter never has any effect against a cluster scope resource, right? So it's just an error, period, if they've included that flag, regardless of the all.
Theoretically, yes, but practically a lot of people have their scripts out there. So if we would introduce this kind of fix from a version to a version, we might break scripts in the wild. That's why we need to be cognizant about that kind of effect.
You can also you can put a namespace in your kube config file so that whenever you're going against a particular cluster, in a context, you're always in that namespace, even though there could be cluster scoped resources. So that's a really awkward interaction.
Okay, I'll check if that's the issue. There were two others. We're out of time, so feel free to jump if folks have to go. There are two other things I wanted to call out. So I think that all flag, the all flag we should rename to all resources. I think that's really confusing to users. So we can do that over 3 releases as well. And then force right now is already used by ignore finalizers, delete stuck resources. So we can't use force unless we change what force does as well. So that's why I had like confirm force in here. So I don't know if we want to clarify what force actually does so people understand, because I already see the issue of people using force and then it's the wrong force for the confirmation. So that's messy.
Maybe just confirm. I've seen commands where if you want to redo them and they have some resources created in the fact, they would say that something happened or we run before. If you want to override whatever you're doing, you pass confirm. So something along those lines. Probably
I'm with you.
Is,
but people are going to see -- force when they're going to autocomplete something or see it in the list, and they're not going to understand what it does. So we may want to consider renaming that one. I don't know.
Delete has grace period 0, force, and there's a very tight coupling between the values of either of both of those. And honestly, for whatever, I can't remember the exact relationship between the two. I'm not 100% sure that we have it properly explained in the help doc, and I'm all board to try to simplify it. I remember that I wanted to do it eventually. I just ran out of time.
I think if we're good, we should batch these all together. So if we're going to make these changes, we should be like, hey, like this is the time we're going to make the breaking changes around delete. Everyone needs to read these change logs, blog posts to understand them. So I feel like we can get away with a batch of changes.
For what it's worth,
yeah,
I have seen over the years a ton of confusion about the word force, meaning that we just delete the representation in etcd essentially. Like everyone first approaching that thinks that it's going to somehow forcefully remove the running container. They don't think that they're leaving garbage around in their cluster. It's just very misunderstood in my experience.
Yeah, so maybe this should be rather geared toward let's make delete more predictable and user safe and improve experience overall, which probably would be a good outcome.
Sounds great.
There you go. I will rename this to protecting users with kubectl delete.
Yeah, yeah.
In kubectl, something like that.
Yeah, I'll have a look at the doc. I'll comment there. We can. It's good to start the discussion. It's not like something that will be very easily taken. This will be breaking people,
yeah.
A lot of people, and it has to go through a proper due diligence. I'm inclined to even send it over to architecture.
Yeah, well, I talked to Dims last night, and Dims was actually on board. So yeah, we can talk to the rest of architecture too.
Yeah, or maybe just pop up during the their next call and bring this topic over to their attention, and then just outline the issues and what the plan is and how we're hoping to roll this out, because that's basically what is it about? As long as the role procedure we come up with will be long enough and we will be sufficiently vocal enough about those changes, it should go away.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everyone for staying late and talking through this. Give the doc a read, please, and feel free to comment and all that jazz. I'd like to send this out an email today or tomorrow to get this started. I'd really like to get some of these into 122, whether or not we can get all of them. But the sooner we, even like the force confirm flag, if we can squeeze that in, but yeah, I see so many issues of people just deleting their shit, and there's stuff we can do to help them.
I mean, even if we would just throw a warning right away, even without doing anything, it might actually, I don't know, somehow they could react faster than only after somebody will pick up the call and pick up the phone and call them. Oh, you actually removed everything, because they were not even aware that this got deleted. Or maybe we could put a sleep there for 10 seconds so that they could quickly press Control C.
That's actually not a terrible idea.
Yeah, it would slow down the scripts, but it would not break them.
Yeah.
But it might probably work.
That's kind of brilliant in a way. Yeah, just warn them and then give them 10 seconds to react. And if they're a machine and they're doing it on purpose, then it will still happen. Yeah, that's great.
I'm gonna add that in for now. I can type it out later. That's a good idea, Mache.
Yeah, it just popped up in my head. I think one of the email providers has something like that you can send an email and then hit stop or cancel for some period of time. I think Gmail did that, or someone else for some time. I've never used it personally, but I know that there are some options like that too.
Okay. All right, cool. Thanks everyone. This is important. I'm really glad that people are interested in supporting. So it breaks my heart to see all these. And I spent 5 minutes just searching Stack Overflow. This wasn't even past the first page. So it's happening.
Okay, everyone. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Bye.